Hunting is such a peaceful hobby. Well, I guess it's peaceful for one side, the other side is literally fighting for its life. Life's wild, man, just like our next game, The Hunter, Call of the Wild for the Xbox Series X. Giving the name Call of to a first-person shooter is a pretty bold statement if you catch my drift. Or maybe this is just supposed to be a cash grab trying to get people to download it thinking it's related to Call of Duty. Who knows? This is another Game Pass game, but this one has a tremendous amount of stuff locked behind DLC and microtransactions. For starters, there's several locations to choose from all over the globe, but there's only 2 that are selectable without purchasing DLC. Now look, I get it. Gaming companies need to make money, that's why they're companies in the first place. And I'm not about to be a super freeloader and expect all these Game Pass games to cater to someone who isn't actually buying the game. I'm just paying for Game Pass, I'm not buying the game, but also, why only 2 regions? It just seems super restricting on the player that they can't do anything without the DLC stuff. It's just frustrating that's limited. At least do like 2 that are the DLC and let me play the rest, not only let me play 2. But with that stuff out of the way, how does the game actually play? Well, it's a tad more realistic for my taste, but overall it's solid. The controls feel mostly good and the mechanics are also mostly good. There's several animals in each area that you're allowed to hunt, which is relieving since the Cabela's games I've been used to playing have been extremely strict as to what animals you're allowed to hunt for. But here I can shoot ducks, I can shoot rabbits, I can shoot boars, deer, mooses, moosin, however you want to name it. There's actually even birds that fly around in the sky, and you can shoot them out of the air. You don't really get a trophy or points for it, and you don't really get to see it dead on the ground, so I don't know what the purpose is, but you can shoot them out of the air, and it made me chuckle the first few times I did it. I also have to admit the progression system of skills and different equipment is pretty good, almost RPG skill tree types of skills and such, which, despite there being some more realistic pieces of the game, it's just refreshing that a game that's hunting oriented takes things pretty seriously in terms of the skills, so it makes it more video gamey in that aspect of it. So it's a realistic hunting game that controls well and has some cool video game type stuff in it. So here's the nitpicks, because that's basically what my game reviews have devolved into, saying some good things and then pointing out the bad things, and here's the bad things part. The aim sway is crazy. I mean, I get that I'm a Call of Duty player, and Call of Duty is not the most realistic game around, I can admit that, but my guy cannot hold his breath for more than like a second, which is part of the skill tree, so I get why it's bad to start with, but I can't even shoot anything because this guy has the lung capacity of a mouse. And also part of the skill tree is being able to chamber the next round while still aiming down sight. That's just like not a default thing. Like if you take a shot, you have to not be aiming and then he loads the next chamber and then he goes in. Like it just takes so long for the default reload animation, which I get that if it's on the skill tree, that's like part of the progression, but it's just really frustrating that that's the beginning level of him not being able to do that. I'd say my only other major gripe other than the low starting level I have is that the realism in the game is just a little bit too extreme in some portions of the game, like tracking, which, again, it's not my cup of tea to have something so realistic, but some people might like it, but I've tracked some animals for like 15 minutes because they keep moving and I keep following the tracks, but I just never catch up to them. So even when I shoot and injure an animal, they would bleed and bleed and bleed and then follow the tracks and follow the blood, and it would just take forever. And what's even more frustrating is I would frequently lose the tracks even though they'd only show up like 20 feet away or so. And then I'd just give up and start tracking another animal because I lost the blood trail. Like I'd be playing for 45 minutes and I didn't see a single animal. I'd just be following the footprints. I'd never get anywhere. Which, again, I know that's realistic and that's what happens in the real world when you're hunting. Every time you go out hunting, you don't find something, but this is supposed to be a game. It's supposed to be a little bit less realistic and a little bit more fun for the player. I feel like this is just SnowRunner all over again, where they took the realism and cranked it up too high, where it's like you can't even enjoy it unless you straight up go into it with the mentality that this is an authentic driving, or in this situation, hunting situation. So as a game, I think it's fine. I don't have a ton of patience for most of the parts, but it was relaxing and calmed me down the few times that I was in a calm and relaxing mood. So if you have the patience or you need a game that doesn't take a ton of direct attention, I'd say you can give it a try, but also don't expect a ton of content from the start. Do I have a first-person shooter list? No? Okay, well I think we have enough to make one. Looks like this one ends up on the lower end of the spectrum, given all the overall average good that Call of Duty usually is, especially during the golden age that I've reviewed so far. It makes sense. The game had potential. I just couldn't really get into it, but I could see someone really liking it if it gelled with their personality. Well, I guess it's time to hunt for the next game, I guess. Hope you enjoyed watching. Thanks for watching. Working another review soon. See you then.